What up, and welcome to the Skolcial Network, a little Saturday edition. Brev, you were traveling yesterday, no? You were hanging out with a
Yeah,
friend?
I just got home like an hour ago or something. I've been there since Wednesday, so
Where'd you go?
that doesn't matter.
Okay.
I was like, it was an hour from here. It was like Northern Virginia.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah,
Well-traveled
not
man.
Northern Virginia where we met, but like mountains, Northern Virginia. So,
Well-traveled man.
thank you. I think.
Well, I'm also glad we delayed because I'm going superhero mode today. This is my flu game. My kid Tuesday decided just to throw up all night, and we finally got past that and thought everything was good. And then my wife and I caught whatever demon disease he decided to pass on to us from daycare. So we made it. Skolcial Saturday, some people are saying. But
People talking.
dude, we pushed through. But I know as well as you do, this has been an interesting week. I know we had a lot of momentum after Thursday night for the draft, and then uh, didn't do anything Friday night. Saturday was an interesting day for the draft. A lot of thoughts on some of the picks, but overall, I think that's been talked about on this channel and pretty much every channel at this point. But since currently we're kind of more of a weekly format, I kind of thought we'd talk about the outlook of what this means for 2024 for the Vikings. So I'll ask you this, Brev. If you were to sum up in just a few short words, what do you think 2024 represents for the Vikings, or what do you think the realistic tone is going to be for the season?
The year of our Lord and Savior, Quasi Adolfo Christ. This is a year of change. It is a year of accepting the future. It is a year of transition. It is a year of don't expect to win games because we're probably not going to, and I assume a lot of people don't expect that. You know, I'm a big subscriber of McCarthyism, and I'm not talking red wave, I'm talking purple wave. This year is about the development of JJ McCarthy. Is he going to play games? I hope not. If I were making the end all be all decision, JJ McCarthy, no matter what, is not seeing the field this year, other than like Darnold and Mullins both get hurt. But this is a year, like, if there's any Wild fans that watch this, we know that this past season and next season was just about getting through cap hell. And if you compete, cool, but you don't have real expectations. We're kind of entering that 1 year phase for the Vikings to where don't expect to win games. It won't be a fun year if that's what you're going into it thinking, but it can be a fun year if you're just going into, oh, I want to see Ivan Pace's next step in his development. Oh, I want to see Justin Jefferson be Justin Jefferson somehow with Sam Darnold at quarterback. I want to see Ty Chandler take a step in development. If you're going into this very individually focused on players, it can be a fun year, but don't expect to win games. Although you did mention pre-show that you're going to have a point about that to where maybe you can a little bit potentially, but I won't give too much away.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I were to sum it up with one word, and it kind of goes in line with everything you're saying, is patience. I think there's a lot of guys on this team who just need a little time, even if they've already shown that they can do a lot. Um, I don't think we've really truly seen what Ivan Pace is going to be. And that's exciting as hell to me because he was really fun as an undrafted rookie. JJ McCarthy obviously being the big one. But, I see people who like to fight on Twitter about everything, especially after a certain decision to let a certain player go early on in the offseason. Well, Vegas only has us at 6.5 wins, 6.5 wins. It was at like 7.5 last year, even with that quote unquote stacked roster you think we lost. And with that, like, I don't care what Vegas says. Secondly, I don't care so much about this season if the plan that's clearly in place is going to come to fruition. I think at the end of the day, if this turns out to create a steady playoff team that could end up making a run consistently and hopefully genuinely compete for championships, then we're in a much different outlook long term than worrying about year by year. I think what, Brev, I think probably going back to 2015, the Vikings have been in a every year is win now, even when we got Darnold, or not Darnold, what am I saying? Sam Bradford. I think even people thought, I mean, we traded a first round pick. I think that was implying we thought we could win now. What, that's probably 2015. We've been in that mindset where this is the year, approximately.
Yeah, sorry, it's lagging like crazy.
Love that.
Oh, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. We're good. Shout out to Cox Internet. I don't know. I feel like even going before 2015, we've
Yeah.
been super win now. Like the team has always been win now, especially with the Wilfs being the owners. So I guess it's fair. Maybe they haven't been as win now before 2015 as they were from 2015 on to this point, just because, like you mentioned, like since 2015, we've really had the established quarterbacks other than like Case Keenum being at the helm for 2017. But even then, they still went on and they went and they won now. So no, I think it's fair. But
Yeah. It's a
yeah, that
change. I mean, a lot of people are going to have to get used to taking a step back with the eyes on the future rather than just win what you can in the moment and hope it works out.
yeah, and it brings a point to my head of like things I just see on Twitter, and I get people are fans and we all want to see the Vikings win. I get it. I really want to see the Vikings win, um, as much as the next guy. But like on you see on Twitter and Instagram and Vikings fans being like, "Oh, why are we only at 6.5 wins?" And then like they have post draft power ranking. Why are we below the Bears and the Saint? Like we should be. Like if you are honest with yourself for the year that Minnesota is going into, Minnesota should be kind of near the bottom of the. I'm not saying they should be like bottom three, but Minnesota should absolutely be in like that 20 to 25 for the power rankings, just because like it's as much of a year of development and just part of the process the season will be. It's also a complete unknown. I'm not saying
Hmm.
I can't see Minnesota winning 11 games, but they probably won't. But it's just there's so much you can't like I can't say for a fact that we're better than 9 or 10 NFC teams for certain. So I some people are better at tempering their expectations than others for sure. But that brought that point to my head.
Well, I think it all depends on what you think the payoff is. If you have no faith in any of the moves made and how they can like positively impact the team long term, then yeah, you know what? Sure, go be negative. But if you really think, we talked about it. If we're just going into every year trying to compete that year, knowing it's going to take everything on earth to go as lucky and go fall our way as much as possible for us to have that chance, like that's obviously hasn't paid dividends yet, and it's time for a change. Sometimes you got to take a step back. I think I know you said you could potentially see us win 11 games. I think looking at the schedule, I had us probably best case around 12, which we'll kind of get into now. I think worst case probably around 6. I don't care how bad we are. I still think we'll probably split with the Packers because historically that's just what has always happened. Could be wrong. They're I hate to say it, they're a hell of a good team, but that's just tends to be what happens. I'm looking at the Jets. I don't know what they're going to be. Obviously, they were supposed to be a powerhouse last year, and with Rodgers getting hurt, a lot of those guys, aged another year while waiting for him to recover. Who knows exactly what that's going to look like? Do I have us beating San Francisco again at home? Hope so. That'd be fun, but probably not. Cardinals, Falcons, that's going to be a fun one. Hopefully, just depends on the timing. Colts, probably games that you could win. Texans, apparently the rumor has it that's the London game, which is a bit of a bummer because I
Mhm.
really wanted to see Diggs come back to US Bank.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
And then we have Green Bay on the road. Again, I think we split that. The Rams. How are the Rams going to be this year?
I think they're going to be fine. I think they'll be around how they did this year for sure.
Yeah, wild card,
Yeah.
approximately. Yeah, somewhere in that
No,
range.
no better, no worse.
The Bears are tough because that really, I still think, as much of a stacked roster as that is, I still think the head coach, Eberflus, is going to be potentially their biggest thing holding them back. I think if you put Kevin O'Connell on the Bears or Caleb Williams on the Vikings, you have a situation where that guy can truly do anything. I don't know what's going to happen there. Jacksonville, they're such a weird team week in, week out. I don't think they're going to be that good. Tennessee, same. The Giants are obviously falling off a cliff. And I know that we go every time we play in Seattle, apparently some ungodly bad luck happens to us. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to be very good. And a lot of these games could go either way. I don't know. I'm not going in with a record prediction like I did last year and immediately figured out in the first month that that was a terrible idea. But I'll kind of have you hit on those points. But the point you kind of foreshadow that we were talking about pre-show, most of the Vikings playoff appearances, or at least about half of them in really like the last 25-ish years, 26, have been with quarterbacks that didn't really have any expectations on them. I mean, Cunningham was a backup. He wasn't even supposed to play that season. You had Tavares slash Gus leading us, I believe, in 2008. Obviously, Favre had all the expectations in the world, but that fell off the train the next year. Teddy fan base was really split. And then obviously losing him, losing Bradford, having Case Keenum come in, that was huge. And then, I mean, Kirk getting us to the playoffs was probably something that had to have happened. And then obviously Dante got us there in the early 2000s. But a lot of the Vikings playoff games lately have been with quarterbacks that nobody had any expectations for. So am I writing off Sam Darnold? I don't know. You talked to Johnny Manziel. Apparently, he says that he's going to be really good this year under Kevin O'Connell. Don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's the best source of information, but hey, I don't know what to expect. But we listen. We could go winless, and as long as all of those losses don't include JJ McCarthy being on the field for no reason whatsoever and him hurting his development, if it pays off long term, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and even then, I've never been part of like the tank crowd, but like
Oh yeah.
I would, if we won 2 or 3 games this year, I would be happy. If it meant that like as long as McCarthy didn't get hurt or anything, um, or his development stunted, but just thinking about that first round pick next year, and how valuable that's going to be, especially when you only have 3 first round pick or 3 draft picks to begin with. Sorry, I'm really tired. Um, I don't know. Like, of course, like I'm not gonna like get on Twitter and be like, "Oh, this team needs to lose. Just lose. Just lose. Just tank. It's best for the future." I'm usually good at finding the silver linings in all of it, and getting like a top five pick for this team going into the future would be really cool. The realistic thing again is like these are the Vikings. They never lose less than, or they never win less than 7 games. Usually, they've won less than 7 games. I think twice in the last 15 years, maybe. I know they went 3-13. That was the worst season of my lifetime, like by far, and that was
And what
2013.
what happened the next? No, that was 2011. What happened the year after
2011.
that? Made the playoffs.
That, oh yeah, no, that was 2013.
I don't know.
Because
Am I crazy?
2009 we were like 13-3 with Favre. 2010 we went 6-10. 2011 it might have been 2011.
It was
You might be right
2011.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, and the next year went to the playoffs with Christian Ponder handing the ball to Adrian Peterson. But no, yeah. So yeah,
5-10.
that
5-10 was 2013. But what people forget is
that's
after
how
that
it
3
went.
and 13, we made the playoffs 3 out of the next 5 seasons, including
Exactly.
an
Yeah.
NFC Championship appearance.
Yeah. So like the team very rarely wins not many games. Um, but I don't know. There's like my realistic expectation to put a record prediction out there is so tough with it only being the beginning of May. But I would put a mortgage and bet my life savings on the Vikings would win at least 6 games. I'm thinking more the 7 to 9 range if I had to put real money on it.
Well, I think it's also where did we get better? I think if you look at apples to apples, Sam Darnold to Kirk, you're probably going to lean towards we got a little worse at that position. But people forget, like, as much of a disaster as that last half of the season was, outside of two Josh Dobbs master classes and the weirdest game ever in Vegas, we were still competitive in almost all of those games. And if Darnold can just be smart with the ball, I think we got better overall on defense. I think Kyrie Jackson is a huge pickup. We desperately needed size in the defensive backfield. As much as losing Hunter hurts, I think the team got better overall on defense with Grenard, with Turner, which is massive, with Van Ginkel, and with Cashman. I think that special teams got better. One, because we actually followed my advice to the chagrin of many on Twitter for some reason and drafted a franchise kicker. Uh, I'm a big fan of that move. It needed to be done. The kicker run was about to start. They called it. It had to happen. If you're going to get a guy, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I think just inherently, the new kickoff rules makes our special teams unit better because we know Kene is probably a top 2 to 3 returner in this league right now, and now he's actually going to have a chance to do the damn job. So I think overall, special teams is going to have opportunities to impact the game much more impactfully, hopefully in a good way, than they did last year. I think defense is better, and I think if Darnold could just literally be a C plus B minus quarterback for us, I we have the world's worst third place schedule probably in history, but I don't know. I think it could be fun.
I mean, yeah, it definitely could be, and I think you got it head on with that. The and looking at the pass rush specifically, like it was so sky is falling when Daniil Hunter left, and I patting myself on the back, I didn't see it that way because I knew like you have to let the offseason go. And while you probably aren't going to find a better pass rusher than Daniil Hunter because there's not many, the Vikings did kind of what I thought they could do, and they found a way to make the entire unit better. Like
100%.
DJ Wanham, I've said it a couple times. Like DJ Wanham sucks. I don't care how many sacks he got last year. He was not a good like he wasn't good. I don't care what you say.
Him
Like
and
just
KJ
like
Osborne were the the opposite sides of the same coin, where they would randomly, we've said this before, against the Panthers specifically, have a walk-off play that sealed a game, and everyone would be in their feels for like months on end defending them, but overall the production wasn't there.
yeah. And if Justin Fields wasn't the Chicago Bears quarterback for a couple years, DJ Wanham might not have a job in the NFL right now because I think like half his career sacks damn near are on Justin Fields. But I don't know. Like if you give me an option and you're like, here's Daniil Hunter, DJ Wanham, and 3 games of Marcus Davenport, or Dallas Turner, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel. Like it's not close. And I love Daniil. Daniil's one of my favorite Vikings of all time, I guess, and he absolutely dominant. It's no detriment to him. He's obviously a top 6, 7, 8 pass rusher in the NFL still. But I'm taking what the Vikings have on defense now every day that ends with Y. Like it, and I don't know how people see it and don't. And I know name value is so much of how people kind of think of the game. But like you look at the unit, it's really not. It's night and
Yeah.
day. Give me the new unit.
I don't know. I mean, hey, I've never seen Vikings fans focus so much on one player that they're willing to sacrifice the overall health of the roster before. Never seen that be a thing at all. But no, I mean, not to just copy what you said, but I think you can look at a great player and understand that with the pieces around him, that player can't truly make the impact that you think. I mean, Daniil was getting double teamed and he still did well, and that's obviously where a lot of Wanham's success came from. Was everyone was so focused on Hunter, they didn't really respect Wanham in the way that he probably felt he deserved. That's a debate for another time. But when you have guys who maybe aren't quite at that level, let's say if Hunter's an A plus pass rusher, you're talking about guys maybe in the B to B plus range. Who knows what Turner can turn into? But you have multiple of those guys. The defense has to respect that in a way that they didn't have to before. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, and it's not something exactly to where it's just gonna be Grenard and Van Ginkel with like Dallas Turner kind of filling in, which I'm sure they might have that to begin the year just to get Turner up to speed. But This is something where Flores is going to have all three of these guys on the field at the same time a lot. Like one thing that has not been talked about for Dallas Turner, because and I get why people do it. They kind of look at it like, oh, Jonathan Grenard was replacing Daniil Hunter, and Andrew Van Kinkel replaces DJ Wan. Like that's not. No, that's not how it works.
It's not a one to
Yeah.
one.
Exactly. First of all, Grenard played the opposite side of the line of Daniil Hunter. So like just off the start, if that's how you look at it, you think Jonathan Grenard just gonna play where Daniil Hunter played? Like no. Um, it's gonna be a nice rotation where there's times where Dallas Turner will be coming up the middle, um, kind of like they sent Daniil Hunter up the middle a lot last year, and there will still be Grenard and Van Ginkel on opposite sides. Dallas Turner is very versatile. That Alabama sent him into coverage a healthy amount last year, so this isn't Dallas Turner, and by no means am I saying he'll be as good as Daniil Hunter, which I think he can be in terms of his impact. I don't think anybody can be as much of a physical freak as Daniil Hunter is. That's natural. That you can't
Yeah.
learn that. And in no way am I saying that Dallas Turner is the next Micah Parsons, but that is how Dallas Turner is going to be used, where Micah Parsons can rush up the middle, he can rush off the edge, he can drop back into cover, he can do everything you want. So Dallas Turner is going to be kind of like Metellus in the secondary and kind of in the linebacking court as that Swiss Army knife. That's what Dallas Turner is going to be up front. And that's one of the things you need to go into the season being like, oh, I think instead of thinking this team's going to go to the playoffs, I'm just going to watch Dallas Turner literally every snap he plays and just watch him go because
Yeah.
that's what you should be doing.
I we recorded last Friday, so we haven't had a chance to talk about the most intriguing draft pick, I think, who is potentially going to be somebody who even helps that D line more, or could just be one of those projects that doesn't work out. I've watched a little film, what little exists. What do you think of the Levi Drake Rodriguez pick?
Um, it was, I guess, at the to sum it up, it really is like it's pick 232. What literally whatever they could have picked me at 232, and it'd be like I don't really think of this at all. What did pique my interest with LDR, I guess as we'll call him, um, the Athletic put out an article, I believe entitled Prospect X or something, and it's like the most unheralded, uncelebrated, unheard of prospect in the entire draft process, and it was Levi Drake Rodriguez. So this is a guy that like I guess only like if you know the saying, if you know, you know, that's Levi
Yeah,
Drake Rodriguez, and I didn't know,
I
but
didn't know.
yeah, it was something. And I feel like I spent a lot of time like looking at prospects in this draft, and I had never heard of the guy. So he's a very well kept secret.
I believe somebody said they had him ranked as their 700th draft eligible prospect. But apparently, when the Vikings met him, like they were in shock by his physical presence, and he's the guy who would literally sleep in the practice facility. One story I read said that when he realized he would get his own badge to TCO, he was saying he would literally be there 24/7. Like that,
Mhm.
I like that dog mentality. You got the physical size
Uh,
and you're willing to put in the work. Hey,
mhm. Yeah, because at first I thought it was something to where, oh, it's just, I mean, there's 600 something people, 700 something people that are eligible to be drafted. I guess this is just one of those guys I've never heard of. I mean, you can't hear of them all. Um, and I thought it was just like a Brian Flores walking into the war room, 232 with like a polo on and being like, hey, take him. So that's kind of what I thought it was, but then you hear like you said, Minnesota met with him and they really impressed. So it's obviously somebody they had their eye on from the jump. So I don't know. It's hard to make much out of a pick 232, and most likely at the end of the day he'll just be a project and nothing ever comes of it. But it's okay and it's completely legal to be optimistic and hopeful. So
yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys who's easy to root for just when you read his story and see what the guy see how much the guy likes football. One last thing, and I think this will be interesting because I think this will probably have a larger impact on the season than most people think. Um, I know Tyler Fornes wrote about this, but the Vikings had the top-rated UDFA class again, which is sick. A couple big names in there. In there, did I just move to
There
Texas? In
and
there,
there.
couple big names in that UDFA class. Fool me once, can't get fooled again. Gabriel Murphy, that's a huge get.
Mhm.
As I don't, I want to temper expectations because everybody's like, oh, he's this year's Ivan Pace. Dude, I don't think you guys understand. Like, remember Thielen? Did you know he's from Minnesota? Fun fact. Did you know he went undrafted? He didn't do
Nope.
anything his first couple years, really. Like, for somebody like Ivan Pace to go undrafted and then become a consistent rotational, occasionally starter and have the impact he did was so unbelievably rare in this league. Let's if any of these guys don't immediately turn into that, it doesn't mean that that's a failure, by the way. But Gabriel Murphy, Tyler Manoa, defensive tackle out of Arizona, Dwight McLaughlin out of Arkansas, I know was a name that I've seen many people talk about. On the offensive side, apparently Ty James, this receiver out of Mercer, is like
Mhm.
is spicy prospect. So I mean,
Mhm.
those are just a few of them. I think we signed 3 total receivers, which is they're really going all out. I We'll see what happens with that wide receiver 3 and 4 spot. But what are your thoughts from what you know? I know you said you research a lot of people on some of these names in the UDFA group.
I mean, Gabriel Murphy at UCLA. That's somebody that I had Minnesota drafting in my mock drafts in the fourth round very often. I know he had. I'm pretty sure he was the one because there's also a Grayson Murphy in the draft, but I think Gabriel's the one we had on a top 30 visit.
Hmm.
So to see him again fall, it is Ivan Pace reminiscent because Ivan Pace was somebody that we kind of thought was going to be drafted in that fourth to fifth to sixth round range, like sixth round at the latest, and he drops to the UDFA's. So Gabriel Murphy, that it really is a huge get. He was borderline dominant at UCLA, and the reason that he wasn't drafted for the most part is because of his size, and I'm not just height and weight. But his arm, like his arms are
He's
really
got T
short.
Rex arms.
hmm So that even just that alone can turn a lot of NFL teams off. And these teams, I know when you look at drafts from the perspective of we're on the outside looking in, we're not part of these teams. There's 260 people getting drafted every year. Why isn't this person going? Don't look at it like that. You have to look at it. These teams have an average of 6 selections in this draft. They're going to take the 6 people that they like the most. And if Gabriel Murphy's arm size is enough for them to not like him as a prospect, like gone, wiped off. So, like I said, it's easy to look at it from that. Oh, he's not one of 260 picks. Like it happens. And I'm not saying he's going to be. I'm not saying he's going to be Daniil Hunter. I'm not saying he's going to be Andrew Van Ginks, but it's
He
very.
is John Randall.
Yeah, it's very enticing. I'm really excited about it. I really liked him coming out of the draft, and I think I said in our last video that I wanted us to, or the one pre-draft where we were talking about our needs. Quasi had never drafted an edge rusher, and I thought that he would be one of the first edge rushers that Quasi would draft in his time as a Viking. So to come out of him with the UDFA class is really big. I also love Dwight McLaughlin out of Arkansas. He's a guy that I think could sneaky make the 53 man right off the bat. So, and that's not saying much because his corner room kind of sucks, but
There's probably 3 or 4 guys in the corner room currently that get cut.
yeah, and I think it's easy. We have a lot of defensive backs right now, but um, like AJ Green, Jalen Williams, they can be gone. Jawan Williams, Caleb
He's
Evans, I think would be a surprise cut, but it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I don't know. I'd rather keep Booth than him. Booth's
I
got
would
that
too.
dog in him a little bit.
I,
You need a little bit of crazy in the DB room.
yeah. Kyrie Jackson honestly should immediately replace Booth. He kind of the or not Booth Evans. The one thing that I've liked about a Caleb Evans is he kind of tackles like an idiot. He uses his head, which is something that he should do off the field too. But um, he, yeah, we don't have to talk too much about that. There's things people don't know, but um, he's pretty fearless attacking at the line of scrimmage, like kind of going to play the run. So that's the one thing I liked about him. But Kyrie Jackson does it better than Caleb Evans does it. So if you're bringing in a fourth round draft pick that can cover better than a Caleb Evans and do a Caleb Evans's thing that a Caleb Evans does best better than a Caleb Evans, like a Caleb doesn't have a spot on this football team for me if I'm running the show. So
I just realized Kyrie's taller than I think any receiver we have, other than if
he's
you
almost 6.
still
Yeah.
Nikhil Henry. I think he's
Yeah.
moving to tight end from what I know, but he's 6'4". We
Mm-hmm.
might actually have a guy in the red zone who could like play
Mm-hmm.
defense in the red zone. That would be
Isn't that
nice.
great? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's I still think here's the read I get on the defensive plan is frazzle the living hell out of a quarterback. Hope that even if they hand the ball off, the line can collapse around somebody enough where worst case Ivan Pace can stop them up the middle. And then if they throw it, just have Kyrie Jackson knock the hell out of somebody. Seems to be the goal. And then be able to move your safeties around wherever you need with Harry in the back in case something gets out of hand. That seems to be, I don't know. Brian Flores is a madman, but on the surface, that seems to be the move is just make the quarterback throw it up and hope nothing happens.
Yeah, that kind of is his defense in a nutshell. Like no matter how good the corner room is that he's coaching, it's always going to be he's going to try to hide his secondary behind a pass rush, and that's something you kind of have to do with Minnesota.
Well, that's the big thing is last year we would get pressure and the middle of the field was just open consistently. Those
Yeah.
short to intermediate routes that would then, it'd be like a 3rd and 8. They'd throw it 4 or 5 yards and pick up 25 yards on us consistently just with these
Mhm.
slants in the middle of the field. It was infuriating.
Yep.
Hopefully that's able to stop. That would be great. Maybe if your corner room is slightly better, you don't have to have as much safety help, and your safeties can actually be there for additional protection on those short to intermediate passes. But I don't know. I will have to see. I think my official record prediction is 8-9. I think that the Vikings are in the playoff race up until about 2 or 3 weeks left. I think we'll have reasons to watch. I agree with you. I think individual player development is going to be interesting. Uh, I think Darnold does better than most are expecting. I think that he ends up earning us a comp pick.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I'd kind of agree with the 8-9 prediction, and I wouldn't be shocked with 9-8. I wouldn't be shocked with sneaking your way into 10-7,
Yeah.
because and I don't know the NFL. You can't predict the NFL.
We don't even know
Um,
who they're playing when yet, and that's such a massive factor in this too.
yeah, it's just. I mean, I can tell you that the Vikings are gonna dismantle the Falcons, and you'd be like, "Oh, well, that's really stupid," and it's May, and then you get to we. It turns out we play them in December, where hot the Falcons turn out to be awful, and we actually dismantle them. Like the game changes. So like
Yeah.
making predictions right now is like you're kind of just saying whatever, but and it gets you can put like a kind of a broad prediction on it to where I think they'll win 8 games.
That Falcons game is hilarious too because if that ends up being a week 1 in Minnesota or week 2, just Vikings home opener game at noon on a Sunday, and it's Sam Darnold versus Kirk Cousins. I want to call that the mayonnaise bowl. That is the whitest thing I've ever seen in my life. But
Very.
that I think the Vikings will be hyped enough to play a competitive game, and hopefully it gets interesting. But that's completely different, and Kirk would be facing a totally different defense and Dallas Turner and even Ivan Pace, who every game for him at this stage is still huge in his development, compared to, like you said, if it's a December primetime game and McCarthy's starting, suddenly, and Dallas Turner's having a huge season and has figured out a lot of things, suddenly, like, the implications of that game are wildly different. and probably more exciting, although who knows what McCarthy would do. So I don't know. I think it's once that schedule release is known, but again, like we all sat there last year, nobody thought we'd have half the season with Josh Dobbs slash Nick Mullins at quarterback. You never know what's going to happen. I think to try to predict specifics, especially when you're waiting on an arbitrary quarterback development plan. Well, arbitrary to us, very specific to KOC and internally. We don't know when that's going to happen. We don't know what Darnold has to do to not accelerate JJ playing or if that impacts things at all. I don't know. I think if the run game's better, that's another thing I didn't mention earlier. I think it will be better. I think we could be fine. I think we're in a really tough ass division. I think that's our biggest issue. And again, we got stuck with the worst third place schedule probably ever.
Yeah, it's really tough.
It's not easy.
Yeah, and again, it's whatever. If it was easy, I'd be like kind of talking myself into that this team can make a playoff run and whatnot, but I don't know. Did you know that
It's
the
going to be
Vikings
wild.
website? Did you know the Vikings website has like our schedule or not our list of opponents through like 2027?
Yeah. I think they can't. Well, it doesn't have all of them. You can't know
Yeah,
all of
no,
them at a
like
time.
because
Yeah.
you face certain, but
You
since you
rotate.
face, yeah,
It has the
individuals.
rotations. Yeah. And then I think you play every conference team that finished with the same record, etc. But did you also know, fun fact, Kyrie is from the DMV?
Yeah, he's from Upper Marlboro, Maryland,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah,
They just named a town after cigarettes or vice
yeah.
versa.
I mean, this entire region of the country was founded off
Built was
tobacco.
was was built off the tobacco industry.
Yeah,
Uh
pretty much.
Makes sense. I was there a couple weeks ago. It checks out 100%. All right.
I know.
So with that, uh, Brev, you and we have to check in with a certain somebody this week, but we have a pretty cool episode lined up for sometime this month. We won't spoil it yet because we don't want to jinx it. Because we had another cool episode lined up that we're still actively working on that we will figure out eventually. But we do have some really cool stuff lined up. Waited till post draft because now that we don't have a whole lot of updated news to talk about, we'll have some cool guests on. But anything you wanted to add, just a message for the people who are maybe a little anxious about what's to come in 2024.
Um, Patrick Mahomes, we're coming for you at Arrowhead in 2027, and 2024. Don't worry, just watch Justin Jefferson play football.
It doesn't even matter who's playing quarterback. That's what's
Yeah,
insane. That's
it
okay.
really
Actually, I
doesn't.
take that back. As long as it's not Josh Dobbs throwing him a hospital ball, because in that case it did matter. A literal hospital ball will be good. Yeah. My final message: just chill, enjoy the ride. Some of our best moments have come from literally not having expectations as a fan base. Doesn't mean we shouldn't long term. We should be. Trust me, when 2025 comes, you will hear Brev and I'm sure, say that it's time to put up or shut up. But for now, let's just see what happens and enjoy the season. With that, we've been the Skolcial Network. We will see you guys next week as long as Brev doesn't travel a whole nother hour away or as long as I don't get some other new strange sickness.